shifting gears to today's webinar. Today, we're talking about the roadmap to financial success. So really kind of a couple of key points here. Number one, understanding your current financial situation. So I'm going to go through a little exercise on how to do that. And then number two, figuring out where you want to go. And last and most importantly, taking action to get there. So what really stemmed and created this webinar is a book that myself and Kelly Garrett co-authored together. And again, Kelly is one of our partners with our real estate debt fund. So very savvy in the financial space and the lending world and investing in general. So a great resource. But for those of you who have not heard of our book or seen this book, it is available on Amazon. I would encourage you to get it if you are interested. We're really going to kind of scratch the surface at some of the fundamentals that we talk about to get to financial success. And again, the book is a better resource, much more in depth. So go to Amazon, you can buy it, get it in a day or two and read through it. It's a great resource, again, to give you a little bit more meat and substance than what I have time to go through today. So with that, all of the announcements are done. I want to get to the meat of the presentation. And as always, when we do these webinars for the Multifamily Investor Nation, please use the chat box to communicate with me if you have specific questions or want to dive deeper into a topic or your personal scenario. Feel free to post about that in the chat box, and we are going to do our best to help you specifically get to where you want to go. So without further ado, the roadmap to financial success truly starts where you are currently at in your financial situation. So I know a lot of folks in the MFIN group are really eager to generate enough passive income to replace their W-2 salary and quit their job. So if that is your position, it is extremely, extremely important. Whether you're a person who is trying to quit a W-2 job or just generate more income to get to where you want to go in life, it is very important to understand your current financials. And this is a detailed exercise that you can do on paper or using Excel. The exercise is what's really important. So even if you're a person who knows your numbers inside and out and you have them memorized in your brain, it's very good to go through an exercise, put it down on paper so you can see it, you can kind of touch it, look at it, sound it out, you can verbalize it, and it's going to help you register where you're at. So the current financials and understanding exactly where you're at, the exercise is going through and writing down all of your sources of income and exactly how much you generate on a monthly basis. So if you work a W-2 job and you make, I'm just going to use easy numbers, $120,000 a year, you're making $10,000 a month. So you go ahead and you write down $10,000 a month from W-2 job. If you have a rental property that's generating another $500 a month, you write that down as well. If you own stocks that produce dividends on a quarterly basis, again, break it down monthly, but you should only write down income that you are truly putting into your pocket on a daily basis. And so what I mean by that is if you have a 401k with an employer or a previous employer and you're making money inside of the 401k, but it is only staying in that retirement vehicle and you cannot tangibly use it for your personal life on a day-to-day basis, then do not write that income down because it does not effectively help you get to your financial goal in the immediate short term. So, going through and jotting down all of your sources of income, you can see exactly how much money you generate on a monthly basis. And then you go through and you write down all of your expenses that you have. And anything and everything that you can think of from an expense side, from your cell phone to how much gas you need for your vehicle or groceries or your cell phone bill, internet, Netflix, $8.99 a month, whatever it is that you're spending money on a monthly basis. If you have a haircut or clothing budget, anything and everything, what this exercise does is it gives you a snapshot of where you are in life with your finances, and you can figure out what you need to do differently to get to where you want to go. So for most everyone in the MFIN group, everyone that is active and eager to improve their financial situation, which I assume is everyone joining us on the webinar today and anyone who watches it in the future, one key distinction that I learned, and I'm sure a lot of folks have heard this before, Grant Cardone is a big pusher of this. You cannot save your way to financial freedom. And what I mean by that is if you realize that you are spending $100 a month on Starbucks coffee, if you take a Dave Ramsey approach and say, okay, I'm never going to buy coffee at Starbucks again because I'm spending $100 a month. Most of you, if you had $100 in cash flow extra, it's not going to materially impact your ability to achieve your personal financial success. And so again, you can't save your way to financial success. Certainly, you need to understand where you are at personally from an income and expense perspective on a monthly basis. But again, you can't save your way to success. And so the reason for doing the exercise is to, number one, figure out your income sources. Number two, understand your expenses. But then number three, you need to figure out ways to make more income. And that's really what you need to be focused on to get to your financial success number. And so going back to the example, if you're the W-2 employee today and you want to quit that job that is paying you $120,000 a year or $10,000 a month, you can't stop drinking coffee at Starbucks to get to $10,000 a month in income, right? You have to go out and find other ways to generate income. So, most of us here on the call are really interested in multifamily properties and investing, and that's a great way to produce monthly income, right? The more units you own, the more income you can generate from a monthly cash flow perspective, because we should be buying cash flow producing investments. And that is the whole goal of understanding your current financials. Know where you're at today and figure out what you need to do to generate more income to get you to that financial success number. Let me pause here and just verify if there's any items. Okay, Benny, great question in here. Is the income and expense exercise post taxes, for example, on income and dividends? Absolutely. So if you're a W-2 income earner and you're making 10 grand a month, right? Your income line should show 10,000, but then on your expense side, you're going to have a line item for income tax. And I don't think you have to break it down for your, Medicaid deduction or Social Security deduction. I would just bucket one line item on your expense side for, taxes and government fees. And so, really, if from a W-2 paycheck, you're making 10 grand a month, you are probably paying $3,000 in um, taxes on a monthly basis. Sarah, the screen has not changed from the beginning. We are on the Multifamily Investor Nation webinar page. And to answer Benny's question, you should always be accounting for taxes because, again, that is a true expense. Kevin, if you have a question, feel free to post it in the chat box. I saw maybe a hand was raised. So again, anyone joining us, feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions, or even the Q&A box. I'll do my absolute best to keep up with questions as they come in. So shifting back to our discussion, the current financials. So now that you understand the current state of where you are, you need to figure out where you want to go. And this could be different for everyone. And whenever I'm speaking with even one of our investors in our multifamily deals, you always need to be looking at your personal goals, which may be different from your siblings' goals, your parents' goals, my goals, your best friend's goals. Everyone's roadmap to financial success has a different target destination. And so what I mean by that is the way I personally define financial success is going to be different than the way you personally define it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's not a right or a wrong answer. And so you need to figure out where you want to go. So if you can understand your starting point, where your current financials are at, now we need to calculate the destination that we want to go to. And you may have multiple destinations. For example, if you're a W-2 employee today and your first destination is to quit your job and stop working a W-2 job, then that may be your first stop is, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to have enough passive income coming in to replace my W-2 paycheck. Once I achieve that destination, then I want to have $1 million in the bank, or $1 million in equity invested across multiple multifamily deals. Or you may have a goal that says, once I quit my W-2 job, I want to spend 8 hours a day with my family. And what I'm trying to highlight here is that people have different destinations. Some people will want to go on vacation, pack up the car and drive to a destination, while others may want to fly overseas and buy a first class airline ticket. Two different destinations, two different costs for those items. And so one destination requires a higher amount of money, and the other destination does not require as much money. And so the roadmap to get to those different destinations are different paths. But again, it's however you personally define it that is most important. So figure out where you want to go. This is an exercise that I suggest you shut down your electronics. You maybe sit on the floor or lie down on the floor, not on the couch, not on something super comfortable, but think about where you see yourself. Visualize what you see yourself doing. If you are visualizing that trip over to Europe and you're riding in a first class seat, visualize yourself doing that. Is that what you define as success in your life? Is that going to give you fulfillment? The other destination you may have is potentially buying a new house or moving to a different city or spending 3 months away on vacation out of each year. That may be your financial success, but you need to define what you want to do and the destinations you want to go to in order for your roadmap to get you there. So let me pause for some Q&A. There are no slides for today. We are just speaking through the webinar points on here. So I've got that. Let me just clear that out. Let me go to the chat box now and get some other questions asked. Okay. Let's see here. Bradley has a question. I want to start in real estate. What is the best way to start? What's the best way to wholesale in a new area? Bradley, I think you just have to get started. Wholesaling is a good way to start without any money. And I would just encourage you to network with some local people in your area on how they got started. We've also done some previous webinars about how to get started without little money. So perfect. All right, very good. I am all caught up. Again, if you have questions, comments, a specific scenario that you want to throw out there, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box, put it in the chat box. So we've talked about understanding your starting point, where you are at today in your current financials. We've talked about figuring out the destinations you want to get to. And so now what I like to do is take action to get there. And the whole action taking step is what I call working backwards to get there. So again, I'm going to use the W-2 employee making $10,000 a month. If your first financial success destination is quitting your W-2 job, you need to figure out how to make $10,000 a month in income to allow you to quit that job. Or if, because real estate has tax advantages, you may only need to make $7,000 a month to quit your job because you're not going to be paying $3,000 in income taxes on a monthly basis. And so now your goal just got a lot more achievable in just a matter of seconds because real estate is taxed differently than a W-2 job. So once you have that destination and that target, we now have a very specific and measurable financial success metric to work towards. So again, if we're going to generate $10,000 a month, you need to figure out what types of properties you can buy or methods in which you can generate that money and take action on a regular basis to get there. The important piece about taking action is don't get held up by trying to achieve your entire goal in one exercise or one piece of action. You may need to parcel out your goal into multiple items. For example, if you are a multifamily investor and you love to buy small 4-unit or 10-unit multifamily properties, you may need to buy 4 or 5 properties in your area to generate $10,000 in monthly income. And so don't let that $10,000 goal hold you back. You should make a goal of buying 5 properties, and you're going to start by buying 1 immediately. And once you buy 1, you are making $2,000 a month. Once you buy 2, you're making $4,000. 3, you're making $6. and 4 properties and then buy 5, now you are making $10,000 a month. And so your whole goal, if you are taking action to buy a property, you need to be looking at deals. You need to be networking with brokers. And ultimately, you need to be submitting offers on a daily or weekly basis in order to buy a property. If you never submit offers, you're never going to buy a property. And so, whatever action you take, the outcome needs to be submitting offers in order to get a deal accepted so you can close on it, you can buy it, and you can start chipping away at your goal of $10,000 a month in cash flow for you to quit your W-2 job in order for you to reach your first financial success destination. Deja question in here about real estate note investing as a source of passive income and gains. We don't have a ton of note investing, but what I would encourage you to do is network with folks in the Multifamily Investor Nation forum. Go ahead and put your question out there and start to network with people in the Facebook group about note investing. And I'm sure you'll find someone who's got some great experience and recommendations for you. Let's see here. Question in here. I want to own a house. How can I save money to make that happen? What investments should I make or be aware of? How do I grow my money? Well, again, this is the perfect topic for your current position. So do that exercise of your current financials. Write down all of your income sources and all of your expenses today. How can you optimize your current income and expenses and hopefully be saving money on a monthly basis? But also, you need to be generating more income in order to buy that house that you have as a financial success destination. So, there's a ton of different ways to make more money. You can drive for Uber, you can flip houses, you can wholesale properties, you can bird dog multifamily deals and partner with other professionals in your area where maybe you can get a piece of the equity because you found the deal. Um, Again, you have to figure out where you want to go, what is your destination, and then figure out how to take action to get there. Um, that is really what I wanted to cover today. If anybody has more questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A box or in the chat box. And what I'll close with is our book, The Roadmap to Financial Success, is a great way. We really include two different viewpoints, one from Kelly and one from myself, and we talk about our experiences with each of the different paths and points along the way to get to your destination, and put real life experiences in there to help give readers a background of how we've overcome challenges or how we've taken approaches to these items. And so, what we covered today: understanding your current financials. You have to know how much you're making and spending and hopefully saving on a monthly basis. Number two, you have to define what financial success means to you and what you want to achieve in the near future and in the long term for your personal financial success destinations. And then lastly, you have to take action to get there. So if you want to make more money, figure out different ways to take action to make more money, either working another job, wholesaling real estate, flipping real estate, bird dogging deals to get a commission, a fee, equity in the deal. Again, always understand your state, local, and federal laws around different ways to make and generate money. But you have to take action to get there. And knowing where you're at today is going to give you a better picture. Um, let's see here, George. What would be the time span to own property that generates 10K a month? It looks like you need around 2 million debt free to achieve this. Great example. And I'm going to break that down a little bit. So what George is saying is you need to own $2 million in real estate to generate $10,000 a month. And as a rule of thumb, that's probably pretty accurate across the entire country. However, there's select areas where you could make more income, more than 10,000 on 2 million bucks. But as a rule of thumb, if you want to generate $10,000 a month, you probably need about 2 million in real estate to do that. And so how long would it take? Well, George, if you bought one property worth $2 million, you would generate $10,000 in a day as soon as you close on that property. So again, you need to understand where you're at. If you have zero money to put into a deal or to buy a property, you're going to have a little bit longer of a time span versus someone who has $500,000 to put down as down payments for the purchase of multifamily property. They are going to be able to buy properties a lot quicker because they have money in their pocket. They don't need to bring in a bunch of outside investors because they already have money to start with. And so, you could buy two or three properties. Maybe the average value is 700,000 per property, and you would need to buy three properties to get to $10,000 a month. And so again, understand where you're at financially, understand what you need to do to achieve that goal, and working backwards is always the best way to do it. And George, you're on the right path of saying that you need $2 million worth of property value to generate $10,000 a month. So with that, if there are any other questions, feel free to use the Q&A box, use the chat box. I have covered everything for today. With that being said, next week's webinar, go ahead and register for it. 6 days and 23 hours away, next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern, real estate syndication. 7 reasons not to invest in a real estate syndication. Very important topic for everyone as we're talking about passive income and generating income to achieve your personal goals, your personal financial success. Couple questions here that I'll address. California is really expensive. Do you recommend buying out of state? Well, there's certainly good deals everywhere. You just need to find them. So I would say, Freddie, to you, figure out where you're at from a personal financial position. Do you have enough down payment capital available to buy something in California? Or do you need to move out of state? Is your goal that you need $10,000 a month in cash flow immediately? Or are you trying to grow long-term value of a portfolio and you're less concerned about monthly cash flow and more concerned about future gains and appreciation? That may dictate the decision. So it really comes down to your personal goals, and you need to work backwards to get there and figure out, should I buy in California or should I look elsewhere, depending on what I personally need the investment to do for me. What steps do I need to take since I have no money? Well, figure out ways to, number one, have income, generate more money, and or you need to probably not partner with, but work for a local investor if you're trying to gain some experience in the real estate world and figure out how to exchange your time for equity in a deal. I'm looking at a multifamily building, approximately 20 units. I have been told not to use my own money. I believe the project would be cash flow positive and have a considerable amount of equity once it's built. I would be the builder. What would be an acceptable split for an investor? Well, Mark, if you have extensive experience building and you've built a couple thousand multifamily properties before, you would have a different investor equity split because you have such great experience and probably banks and friends and family and other investors willing to put money into a project of yours because you've had so many successful projects in the past. Now, if you're a person who's never built a 20 unit apartment building before, and you also are not putting your own money into the deal, you may have a very hard time convincing someone to invest in the deal. And you may have to give up a lot more equity for someone to feel comfortable risking their money. They're going to be risking their capital. And so the reward is going to need to be superior to that other person who has considerable development experience. And so I can't really answer the exact equity split, but I would say personally, if you came to me and you said, hey, I'm going to build a 20 unit, I'm not putting any of my own money into the deal, I would be requiring a significant amount of upside or return on my investment because it doesn't seem like you are heavily invested in the project. So, if you have money to put into the deal, I would encourage you to do so and then maybe make a fair equity split for other investors that are investing right alongside your capital. With that, thank you everyone for joining. Next week's webinar, Real Estate Syndication, 7 Reasons Not to Invest. Check it out, register for next week, Tuesday. This will be a great topic as we're talking about passive income and really investing in real estate as a way to achieve your financial success. Go to the Multifamily Investor Nation Summit page, buy your ticket. The summit coming up for the summer of 2021 is June 10th, 11th, and 12th, 8 days away. Go buy your ticket. Thank you for joining. I'm glad today's content helped. Go through the exercise, write down your current financial situation, write down where you want to go, and then work backwards to get there. Be relentless in taking action to get there. Thank you, folks, for joining, and we will catch you next week, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the 7 reasons not to invest in an apartment syndication deal. Signing off. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful and productive rest of the day, and we'll catch you next week.